Today's video is part 2 in a series that we're doing all about half kneeling with the end goal of improving your overall standing balance, walking confidence, and your overall life. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset in the context of neurologic injury with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to take ownership of your rehab and your health to live an overall more active, more mobile, pain-free, happier, healthier life. If you didn't watch last week's video, it's absolutely critical prior to watching this video, because in last week's video we went into how to get into this position and out of this position from sitting and standing, which is absolutely critical before you dive into this week's video. So if you haven't watched it, stop this video and click on the first link in the description below. But in this week's video, we are going to go into all of my favorite activities to do in half kneeling. But before we dive into that, there is a PDF handout that goes along with this video that's going to have pictures and descriptions of all the exercises that we do. Those PDF handouts are available to our gold and our bronze monthly members. To learn more about our membership programs and to sign up, visit rehab-hq.com. All right, so now let's dive into the exercises. So step 1 is just learning how to maintain your balance in half kneeling. Again, super valuable for learning how to use those stabilizing muscles in this hip to keep you upright when you're walking. So you want to really squeeze that hip, and then you're just going to lift this arm. Try and maintain your balance. Once you can do that pretty well, you're going to clasp your hands together, and you're just going to do a little rotation. Now, not only are we really working on having to isolate the hip muscles in this leg to stand, but now we're also dissociating the upper body from the lower body and trying to maintain your balance. Once you get good at that, we're going to do a little karate chop. Do that to both sides. The entire time, you're really working on squeezing this hip and really keeping this side tight. Very common for people to drop back when they do this. So really squeeze that hip when you add that arm movement. All right, now for this exercise, we're just adding a rotation. Band pulling from the opposite side of the involved leg, which is the hip that we're on. Arms extended out in front. Same rotation we did earlier. Now you're just adding some resistance. Super valuable exercise. All right, and then once you get good at that, we're doing a row with your stronger arm. All your weight is on that weaker leg. Now what this is tapping into, and I made a video on this quite a while ago, talking about the posterior chain. Posterior chain is just kind of a term that we use to refer to structures on the back side of the body that help to resist something called a ground reaction force. Ground reaction force is the force that comes up into your body when your foot hits the ground or when you load that leg during walking. Some of you that like the more technical stuff might find that interesting, some of you might not. Point being is that it's basically what stops your body from crumpling to the ground when your foot makes contact with the ground, right? Our body needs to push back into the ground to resist that force. That comes through this linking of structures that we call the posterior chain on the back side of the body that kind of runs from the opposite shoulder, from one shoulder to like the opposite leg, and then down through the back side of that leg. So this is one way of working that posterior chain. Why do I tell you that? Is I always love to give a rationale. So if it's something that, you know, is meaningful to you, then you might find this exercise valuable. If it's not meaningful to you, then you don't necessarily need to add it to your exercise plan. But opposite hand, involved leg, row, trying to squeeze that hip and pull that arm back at the same time. Again, very valuable for working that posterior chain. All right, now for this exercise, what we're doing is we're working the uninvolved leg, or at least that's what it looks like we're working. But what we're really trying to do is, can you stabilize on your involved leg? Can you stay vertical and balanced while you now start performing a movement with your other leg? I like a furniture slider because it makes the movement a little bit easier to do, but you're just sliding that foot forward, trying to shift your body weight slightly over your involved leg to take some of the load off of this leg. If you absolutely can't move this leg, it's probably because there's too much weight on it. So you're also learning how to weight shift, which is really important. I talk about that in a lot of videos. A lot of times after a stroke, a compensatory mechanism is to not weight shift over this leg because your brain kind of knows it's weaker. So you're also working on that weight shift. An indication that you haven't shifted your weight is if you can't move this leg. Okay, so shift that weight forward and back, forward and back. And then once you get good at that, next go out to the side. This is going to be a lot harder for a lot of you, just based on my experience of working with people. I think it's a combination of things. I think one is you just don't have the range of motion. It just requires a lot of hip mobility, but also you do have to put more weight on this leg. So just be aware of that. Don't ever like go into any of these new exercises kind of flippantly, because if you fall, you're going to fall and it's going to put pressure on that knee. So just make sure that you assess every activity first, know your abilities before you try anything new. Out to the side and back in, shift that weight, out to the side and back in, out to the side and back in. All right, now we're really taking that activity to the next level for those of you that are higher level. And what we're going to do now is you're going to try and pick that leg up and set it up onto a block. It requires a little bit more range of motion in your hips, so be aware of that. And it does require a little bit more strength. See, we're kind of going uphill. So it just requires a lot more hip muscles to kind of work together on this side and then back down. You're kind of going uphill. So these muscles have to work a little bit harder. Uphill and down. Gets me thinking about something else. Some of you talk about hip drop, meaning you don't, I call this the model walk, where you're walking and that hip drops out to the side. If you're higher level, because this is a pretty advanced activity, this would be one way to work those muscles that help to keep those hips level and not have that model walk. So up and down, up and down, up and down. All right, now we're going to add a weight. This is another, what I would consider like an advanced activity. You're going to bring this down and up over the opposite shoulder. Down and up. We're adding some dissociation between the upper and the lower, but also really incorporating a lot of those trunk muscles while also keeping that hip stable. Absolutely critical for walking. Down and up. Down and up. Down and up. All right, now for this exercise, you're going to extend this arm up towards the ceiling. You're basically going to keep this arm up and try and touch the floor and come back up. Again, just working your hip and your trunk in different planes of motion. Down and back up. Down and back up. And then one more that I love with this weight is trying to get that weight all the way around your head. Again, just working a lot of those core muscles while keeping that hip nice and stable. All right. And then that is it for this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful, or this series helpful. Don't forget, there is a PDF handout that goes along with this so that you can easily access all of these exercises, cross out the ones that don't apply to you, and really focus on just one or two to really take your walking rehab program to the next level. To learn more about our membership programs and to sign up, you can visit rehab-hq.com. If you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell so that you'll get notified every time I upload new videos. I enjoyed spending time with y'all today, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.